TJ, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me on, dude.
Good to finally have you on, and for you to take the time out to come on here and chat with me, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how's everything going?
Things are good, man. California's crazy, or California especially more than anywhere else is crazy with the pandemic that's going on. I got a few businesses that I've been having to, run and have the headaches with, but we're getting through it now. And exciting stuff is I'm getting back to full-blown training and should be stepping inside that octagon hopefully here soon. So it takes your mind and your stress off of business and thinking about kicking someone's ass,
Yeah, we used to say like winning fixes everything. And so as long as you're still fighting, when you win, it seems to come with a lot of perks that can help fix those problems that are sticking you up.
100%, man. There's no better thing to say right there than that, especially if you're an MMA fighter. And just the way that the UFC pumps you up and gets things going, it helps with anything you want to do.
Yeah, I was watching your videos, and when you going down to Panama doing stem cell and having the double shoulder surgery and all this stuff, it's like, man, I was out from some injuries, but that seems kind of crazy. And it seems like Panama is the place to get stem cell. And I'm like, I don't know much about it. It seems scary to me because they create these I guess cells and then put them in your body. Like, how does that work? And how was your results?
Yeah, man. So the first place I went down to was the Stem Cell Institute down in Panama.
Okay.
They very, very good. And the last few times I've gone to is BioAccelerator in Colombia.
Okay.
Both are great places. I have noticed maybe a little bit better benefits, not even from BioAccelerator down in Colombia. But the reason why I got to go out of the country to do is that they can't do what they do here in the States is what they're able to do out of the country. They're allowed to manipulate the cells out of the country, which they can't do here in the United States. For instance, I'm taking stem cells from umbilical cord. From a baby that's been birthed, you take the umbilical cord from that, and they do all the research to make sure the studies are healthy of the baby, the mother, the family, and then they spin the cells and they take the good cells out, the mesenchymal cells. They're the strongest cells. Wow. And then they can culture them. They can multiply them by 80 million a day. You can only multiply them so many times, but they can generate so many stem cells from one umbilical cord. Here in the United States, they can take umbilical cord stem cells, but they can't manipulate them. They can't spin them out. They can't take the good stuff from the bad stuff. So if you're in the United States getting stem cells done, they're just injecting you with dead cells, mesenchymal cells, whatever is in. But in those countries I've gone to, they're giving you the best of the best. And that they've done the research behind who they are getting them from, what baby or what babies that have been born, what families they're from, and their health things from that too. So obviously there are some health risks within taking someone else's stem cells. So you want to make sure you're going to the right spot. Yeah. And I've noticed huge benefits. Actually, it's what kept me in the game the last 3 years of my fighting before I got suspended, because I had blown out both my shoulders. Before I fought Cody Garbrandt the first time on the Ultimate Fighter, we were playing the Coach's Challenge. We're playing tetherball on a balance beam above a pool, and I fell off and caught myself, and I dislocated my shoulder out the back. And I've always had shoulder problems, but I knew that it dislocated, but it popped back in. Was able to finish the game, but knew that I was going to be fighting him possibly in 4 or 5 months. Luckily enough for me, the fight got pushed back to November because he had back issues. Not being the champion, you can't be like, oh, hold up, I can't fight. I got an injury, right? I got to take advantage of the situation. So I was going to fight no matter what. I decided to look up Panama. I looked at the best stem cell place I could find. It was Panama at the time. And I went down there and got injections done on my shoulder and noticed some huge benefits with just being able to maintain structural integrity in my shoulder.
Right.
My shoulder wanted to dislocate all the time. I went and got stem cells done and did as much rehab as possible. And to be honest, it kind of held me together. And then the second fight coming up, I dislocated the other shoulder doing boxing, and actually even worse. And so I knew the therapy that I needed to do for myself, and I went and got some stem cells done for that as well, and kind of kept it going. And then, as you mentioned, once I got suspended, both my shoulders were so jacked up that I got double shoulder surgery. My labrum, my rotator cuff. Well, I had a partial tear on my labrum, but a full tear on my supraspinatus, rotator cuff, both shoulders, and a frayed bicep tendon. Wow. So I got both those fixed by the best doctor I could find. Went back down to Colombia or Panama, then Colombia, to get it to heal to its fullest, and actually pretty exciting about coming back and be able to not have that nagging injury in the back of your head saying you can't grapple. Going into those Cody fights and my Cejudo fight, I was like not wanting to wrestle, not wanting to get in a grappling situation because my shoulder would just pop out. It was probably popping out twice a month for those training camps.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things in the back of your head that I won't have to go into a fight now. I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I saw in the video you were like lifting your arms up and you didn't have the same like extension one of the times you were getting your surgery. And it was just like, I can relate to that because like people always assume with injuries and fighters, it's like pain. It's like, oh, they have an injury and it's pain. But it's like I had Machida kick me in the arm and it swole my arm up because it had like a bone fragment in there. And I fought Yushin Okami like right after that. I was like literally a couple weeks before Yushin Okami. And he got on top of me and I couldn't shrimp. So it's not about the pain always. It's not about like, that. It's about the fact you can't, like I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't like put this arm back to my chin and actually shrimp and get out of like mount position and stuff. So it's like, I know exactly what you're talking about with like, you got to have your body as flexible as possible at all times, or it could be the difference in winning a fight sometimes or getting out of position and losing a round.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that you can't even brush your teeth.
I couldn't even
going into
it's so bad.
Time, the most important fight of your life, because every fight, whatever
that
fight
one was, man.
Next fight, is your next important fight of your life. You know what I mean? Like you can't even brush your teeth and you're going into a big fight. And like, people don't realize the mental toughness that goes in behind fighting, not only the one-on-one combat, but all the bullshit you got to deal with outside the cage and the injuries and still having to fight with it,
And everything's good. Your body's good now and you're back to full on training?
Yeah, man, I'm super excited about it. I've been training pretty hard now since, because I was out for a while. I was coaching. I always was coaching. I was helping Juan Archuleta get ready for his fights. Right, I was in the gym, but I stayed out for a while. So since, I don't know, the end of 2020, I've been training like I've been in a training camp because I was legally allowed to fight January 19th. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know if I was going to get a fight right away. So I pretty much just like kind of jumped into a camp and started sparring and knowing that I need to get that timing back. I need to get that feeling back. I mean, people talk about ring rust. The only time you're going to have ring rust is if you don't do what you need to do in practice. Right. Like, yeah, if I just stayed out for 2 years and then did an 8-week camp, yeah, I'm going to be shit. Right. But I've been grinding. So I'm actually pretty excited with how I feel and how sparring is going and how all my training is going as well as my body. So I'm obviously excited to get back to fight just because I love doing it, but also to come back and know how good I'm feeling and to really put some wrinkles in that weight class and cause some havoc. People are going to be fucking pissed when I come back. So it's going to be sweet.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a second. That's exciting stuff. Yeah, definitely. I saw you working out in Panama in your outdoor gym with your one arm when you so you were getting it in. It was funny, but you were getting it in. So at least you were definitely training, fighting gyms. I know in Brazil they have those too, where they're at the outdoor gyms like that. Those little like pulley things. So you were training I've seen you training with Cub. Cub's been on the show multiple times, yep. And Ortega as well. So first of all, just real quick, what'd you think about Cub's fight in his last showing? I know what a great fight, huh?
His boxing looked great.
Absolutely.
Looked really calm, and he was off a long layoff. He had full-blown knee surgery from that grappling match he was in. And so coming back, knowing that he worked on some skills, what he could do at the time, having knee surgery, and his boxing just looked really good. His inside dirty boxing was nice. Just a big win for him, watching him having 3 kids. He had twins, and he's got a young daughter, so having 3 kids in the house and just all that stuff. Like, the finances that come along with it is just so stress relieving to watch him go out and perform so well.
He was super. You could just see the emotion, like how happy he was, and like he was so fortunate enough to do the podcast during his fight week. Like, and I didn't expect him to do it or want him to, but that's the time that he scheduled. And then once we did it, I realized that it was so close to his fight, and I was just like, I felt so bad. I was like, man, I hope he wins the fight. He doesn't get distracted. I was trying real hard not to like put a lot of pressure on him with the podcast because like he's just so nice, and it's like he's just so cool and so chill. And it was so nice to see him feel so. You could see the emotion of how happy he was after that fight. Like you can tell when a fight means a lot to a fighter, and when it's just it's a win. Like, it's not a big deal. It was a huge deal for him, and you could tell, and that made me happy. Absolutely, man. When your back's to the cage and you get that big win, there's nothing greater. And he's got Gavin Tucker coming up now. Is he training hard for that? And how do you feel about that fight coming up? I don't know if we're going to see if he gets that fight. It's kind of, nothing's like official. That's the plan, right? So, but he's getting back at it. Cub broke his hand
his last fight. It wasn't a bad fracture, but a little fracture. So he just got back from getting cleared from that. And man, the one thing I'll say about Cub Swanson is that a lot of his stuff is so underrated. Everyone knows how good Cub is. He's been around the game for a long time. But me finally getting to train with Cub, man, it's like you don't realize how good his grappling is and things like that. Things he doesn't get, the things he hasn't shown or he stayed away from for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, came back grappling. We're grappling twice a week, usually at Gracie Baja. He's getting back into sparring. So no matter what, he'll be ready. And he's one of those OGs that just knows the game. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah, and you got Ortega coming up with Volkanovski. So you got a nice little crew around you there.
Yeah, we got Juan Archuleta, the Bellator champ at 135s. You got Brian Ortega we've been working with here. Cub Swanson. We got a lot of guys people don't know as well too. Like, you know, everyone has those guys that push you in the gym that no one even knows yet. It's kind of nice, you know. Yeah,
and most importantly, there's a lot of hype about you coming back, man. I've had a lot of guys on the show talking about you, fighters. You know, obviously a lot of followers want you on the show and find out what's going on. Is there anything that you can announce in the works at all, or can you not announce anything yet, or what are you looking at?
There's been some talks, right, but nothing can be announced yet. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a good situation. I think everyone in the top 5 has called me out. You know, and I want to come back and fight the best. 35 years old now. I've got a lot of things in life going on, so I want to come back and prove that I'm the best bantamweight of all time, and I want to come back and fight the best. You know, if that's fighting for the belt right away, then so be it. If that's fighting someone else in the top 5, awesome. You know, every person that's called me out, I've said yes to the UFC. So that's just showing me that I'm eager to get back in there. So it doesn't really matter as long as it's someone that's at the top of the game, because I'm going to climb up and get that belt back fast, you know.
I mean, obviously Cody wants you, Sandhagen wants you. With all due respect, Rob Font gave you a lot of credit, but still would love to fight you to put himself to the test, though he said immediately following that, you deserve to go in there and fight straight for the title. That being said, you didn't leave the sport as not the champion. You know, you were the bantamweight champion, rightfully so. And then you had to take that break. So when you come back, you know, but without giving anything away, I don't want you to give anything away that you can't announce or anything, but would you feel comfortable jumping right into a title shot with a 2-year layoff like that? Or would you rather have kind of like ideally maybe one more fight, just like a contender fight, just to get your, I know it's not rust, but just to get yourself, you know, back in?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of got to wrap their head around about coming back and getting back in there. But no, I'm ready to go straight for the belt. Yeah. You know, if that's the opportunity that comes at me, because I know that Jan wants it. You know, he's already been vocally talking about it, and you know, we'll see what happens on March 6th when he fights Sterling. He's got a tough test ahead of him, but that's the fight he wants. You know, I feel like, you know, just like what you said, I didn't leave the sport by losing my belt. He knows that there's a lot of speculation if he's the real champ, if he hasn't beaten the champion to get that belt. So he wants it, as well as that I'm the biggest draw for him right now to try to fight. Maybe he's thinking me coming back for my first fight might be the best time to catch me as well too. Try to catch me slipping, but I mean, that's what I want. You know, I mean, the ultimate goal for me is to be the champion. I mean, the greatest things come to you when you're a champion. The goal is to be the champion. So why not get out there and get it done? You know, I haven't missed a beat. It'd be different if I was in practice right now and I realized like, shit, I got some making up to do. Maybe I should take a tune-up fight. But I don't feel that way whatsoever. Like we just talked about my training partners that I have in the gym and the guys that I'm pushing myself with every day and how I'm able to compete and just feel my own timing. You know, I've been traveling out to Colorado 4 days a week right now, kind of making it Thursday to Sunday to Colorado and here in California, the other times for grappling and sparring and whatnot. So I'm doing everything I possibly can to stay sharp. You know, I'm out there working with Dwayne Ludwig, and he's one of those guys that it makes me push to new extremes and keeps me even though I don't need help being held accountable. He just does it without even having to say anything. You know,
I love Dwayne, man. He's an awesome guy. All right, guys, don't fast forward. Please do not fast forward. Give me 2 seconds. Please give me 2 seconds. I have been getting some amazing guests on the podcast. We have been putting together some great shows for you guys. Please give me 30 seconds of your time. Listen to my quick spill on Manscaped. Guys, you can save 20%. You can get free shipping. It's the best product on the market for below-the-waist grooming. It is 100% by far the best. And you can save money, free shipping. Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, manscaped.com. Enter code QUICK. That lets them know I sent you so they don't fire me and they don't fire the podcast. And you guys can show support to the podcast and save 20% and get free shipping. I made this super quick for you so we can get back to the awesome podcast with TJ. Thank you guys so much for the support. Going back to the Yan Sterling fight, how do you see that going down? I mean, obviously, it seems like you kind of want to fight Yan, but I mean, how do you see that fight? Can you break that down a little bit as far as your prediction and how you think that fight's going to go?
Yeah, man. I think it's a tough fight for Yan because of the style of the fighter. I think Yan's the better, well-rounded fighter. He's got more of the skills and more aspects of fighting. But Sterling's wrestling is really aggressive, right? His striking looks real uncomfortable. He doesn't really set anything up. He just kind of bombs kicks nonstop, right? Kind of got that distance, right. But then he grabs a hold of you. He's got great wrestling, and his jiu-jitsu is amazing as well, too. I mean, we watched him take Sandhagen out in 45 seconds. We watched him do a lot of great grappling in some of his fights. So I think it'll be a tough fight because I do think that Yan's maybe biggest weakness is his wrestling. Yeah, I know he lost in the past to a guy that's in Bellator just by getting out wrestled. So we'll see the gains that he's made in his MMA wrestling. I would still probably put my money on Yan just because he's a little more well-rounded, structurally and technically on his feet. I think he'll be able to keep the distance good enough, but you can't underestimate a tough-nosed wrestler. So. Yeah, I mean, he can't be counting his chickens before they hatch because he's trying to call me out, but he's got to get past Sterling and make sure he can and stay on top.
Yeah, well, you're not saying it, but just given the fact that you were the bantamweight champ when you left, and you were a very dominant, considering what's happened since you left, and then how dominant you were when you had the belt, there's no doubt in my mind you're getting the winner of that fight. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to that fight. That's going to be an explosive fight, whoever it ends up being. That also being said, you mentioned Mayweather recently, or I guess not too recently, maybe a little while back with, I think it was Ariel or something. What about that? Would you consider taking a fight? I mean, obviously not next, but would you venture into boxing and fight someone like Mayweather?
Man, the world of boxing is such a circus.
It is crazy, so right?
It's
you'd be replacing Logan Paul, who's 0-2, by the way. That would be who you would be replacing to fight Mayweather. Just to put that out there.
Yeah, so I guess my stats are just fine to take that fight if he's fighting like Logan Paul. But it just ruins the sport, man. Like, obviously I would take it for the finances, right? I mean, it'd be such an awesome thing, but it's just so crazy what's going on right now that YouTubers are making that kind of money and fighting and just, especially a guy like you, like you came up in the heart of the UFC, of like building it to what it is now and getting paid shit. And you know what I mean? And like not being taken care of. And you see these YouTubers come up and like training for a couple months and getting paid millions of dollars. It's just so frustrating that you can come in. Like, do you see a YouTuber going in and playing an NFL game? Do you see a YouTuber going and playing MLB or any of this other stuff? It's like, it's just so crazy that can actually physically happen to a professional sport and how hard we work for what we get. And just someone like, it's crazy. So, I mean, it's almost like my view has changed that I don't want to help disrespect the sport of boxing and jump in line and stuff I've been such a fan of it, Yeah. But yeah, I would.
Yeah, of course. Well, it wouldn't be the same. If you fought Mayweather, that's a little different than Logan Paul fighting Mayweather. The thing is, what bothers me is guys like Jake Paul, who are YouTubers, like you said. And I understand, celebrity fighting. I understand YouTubers fighting YouTubers. I understand gamers fighting gamers. But it's frustrating when you see a guy that's like Jake Paul who's training full-time to be a fighter. And obviously the guy's got a ton of money. He's got a ton of assets to train full-time as a boxer. And you can only get so good so fast. But when you're training every day at something, you are going to be better than someone who isn't training at all. And then he's fighting like YouTubers and basketball players who've never trained or sparred in their life. That frustrates me, and making millions of dollars doing it. It's like you're grabbing people that aren't even in the sport or training and trying to fight him and knock him out just to prove you're alpha, and you haven't fought a fighter. That brings me obviously to Askren. He's obviously looking for somebody who, again, doesn't have boxing training, but he wants to say he can beat up a real fighter. And Askren is a very credentialed. I just had him on the show just two podcasts ago. A very high level Olympian, level athlete and a fighter, but he's not a guy who spent a lot of time boxing, and he's getting drug into a boxing match. Like, what's your thoughts on that, and how do you think that's going to play out as far as just Askren's just pedigree compared to Jake, even though Jake is training full-time as a boxer and has probably put more time on striking recently as of late than Askren?
Yeah, I was actually just about to ask you that. I didn't know you had him on, but about the Askren fight, because you were talking about Jake Paul. Bro, like, Askren should win, right? But I'm nervous about it. I mean, Askren's not a striker. You watch him strike, it's like the MMA world is very nervous right now that he's going. I mean, let's be honest, like, he should win the fight. He should be smart enough to. I mean, Jake Paul's going to get tired.
Yes.
He should be able to wear him out and make him lose his explosiveness and dance around and get the win. But I wouldn't say that Askren's the better striker. I think he's just the better competitor, right? And that's what's going to win him the fight. At least I really hope so. My fingers are crossed, because, man, if
Jake Paul gets a win over an MMA champion, can you imagine, dude?
Man, it'd be crazy.
It's going to be bad. But I do agree with you, and I think a guy that has a mindset like Askren and who's been at Olympic level and finds a way to win. I mean, he's found a way to win against guys like Lima and against like Robbie Lawler. He's taken hard punches with 4-ounce gloves. He's been hard to hit, and he's taken those punches. To expect, Jake Paul to come out there with a 10-ounce glove and just hit him one time and knock him out, it's not going to be as easy as he thinks. And then I've never seen a guy with a couple fights go out there and compose himself. They blow themselves out pretty damn fast, and then they panic, and then they freak out. And if Askren can maintain himself and stay composed and not get caught, I mean, it could be a fight where he's chasing Jake Paul around, just putting a beating on him because he's just exhausted and panicked. And that's what I hope kind of happens.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too, man.
That's crazy, man. So what does the training camp look like for you now as you're getting ready for this next fight that we can announce? And by the way, just so you know, this fight is going to get announced 5 minutes after this podcast comes out, because that's just the way it happens every time. I have a podcast with an amazing guest like you where everybody wants to know something. We can't say it. And then like 5 minutes later, it's on my timeline on Instagram. And then I just put the podcast out. But either way, whatever, it doesn't matter. What is your training camp like? Like, what is it? What is your weekly routine getting ready for your next fight, whoever it is?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know who it's going to be yet, right? So it's not like I'm hiding anything
right,
yet.
Right,
but so shoot, yesterday was yesterday was Thursday. So yesterday I went and did some sparring with Kevin Ross and Ortega, jiu-jitsu at night. Usually Thursday through Sunday. I mean, not every week, but when I get into camp, it probably will be every week that I'll be in Colorado from Thursday to Sunday working with Ludwig out there. And then I'm using my strength conditioning coach, Sam Calvito, which is the reason why I moved back down to Southern California. The guy's just a straight up genius when it comes to optimizing the body and making sure you're getting everything out of it, especially being the age that I'm at now at 35 and being able to continue to see gains has been so impressive to me. But I mean, it's not for everyone. It's one of those coaches that's going to push you to throwing up almost every workout, no matter how good a shape you get in. But we know how to do it at certain times, because I can't be training that hard all the time. So, certain days I'm taking off of the week. It's not 7 days a week. I'm taking days off and making sure my recovery is very, very high end. Sitting in the hyperbaric chamber with O2, but getting good sparring in with the Archuleta, the Cub Swansons of the world, the Ortegas, and even the guys you don't know of. Grappling with the best in the world, I believe. Felipe de la Monica here, Gracie Baja and Irvine, and the guys he has coming in, as well as that room that I have to roll with. So it's a grind already. I'm in ridiculously good shape. I could fight. I mean, I could take that. If someone steps out March 6th, I can step right in. I'm in insanely good shape right now. So sometimes I actually got to pull the reins back a little bit and make sure that I'm not going too hard yet until they announce the camp, because I don't want to be burnt out by the time I'm ready to fight.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, I've let my body heal for 2 years, so I shouldn't be that burnt out. I'm pretty amped up and ready to go.
Speaking about that 2 years, man, first I want to commend you on how you handled the situation that you were in. I think you kind of set the bar for fighters that get caught in that situation. Not many fighters hold their head up and do what you did. I think you should be commended for that.
Thanks, man.
You did serve your time, and you had no doubt, you had no qualms about that, and you spent your time away. What are some of, like, I've had some time away as well myself, but, I wasn't like a champion like you and some big superstar. What were the major ups and the major downs of sitting out and having to be a fan, leaving as a bantamweight champion like you did, and having to then automatically be a fan for 2 years in your prime? Like, what were some of the upsides to that, and what were some of the downsides to that? Just real quick.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you saying the way I did it was the way it should be done, because it was hard to do.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Obviously, I knew it's what had to be done, but a very stressful situation, man. The first 6 months of that time of being suspended and dealing with it was very stressful. Hard on me. I mean, not only me. I think about my wife and my kid, and obviously my kid's so young, it doesn't matter on him yet. But just the bull crap I was going through. It was real emotional, and then having to be laid up on the couch on some pain pills during surgery right when that happens too is because as soon as I got suspended or knew I was going to get suspended, I was like, boom, I'm doing surgery. So I mean, it was tough, man. It was very, very tough. But we start talking about the upsides of it. There's so many of it, so many upsides to being out right now with the time I have with business and things I would never be able to do because I'm focusing on fights. Now that I'm like even getting back to even thinking about fighting, other things are going to the wayside that I had time to actually spend. I got involved with a franchise called Clean Juice. Yep. I opened up a store down here in Yorba Linda, and I'm actually the area developer for all of Southern California. So we'll be opening 63 stores in Southern California. I have some other big projects that actually will take care of me for the rest of my life as soon as they go through here that I can't really talk about yet. But things in the business world that I've been able to take care of that I never would have had time to. I would never choose to do it that way again, but it was a blessing in disguise. Right. I got both my shoulders fixed. I'm going to have I don't have to come back and fight for money now, which is pretty sweet. Like to have that stress of like going out there and fighting and winning because you need to put some money on the table to be able to keep this roof over our head and keep my, my finances going. Like that's amazing to go in there and not have that stress. So that's pretty cool. So there's been a lot of pluses. Obviously the negatives because of my situation is just, having to deal with all the bullshit of cheating. Yeah, of course. And I've laid it out there as much as I possibly could. I made a giant mistake. I wanted to do something that was, I wanted to go down to a weight class that my body wasn't letting me. I full blown went anemic and didn't want to get out of bed, bro. Like I'm supposed to be fighting for a second world title, trying to be the best pound for pound fighter of the world. And I didn't want to get out of, I pretty much, it was just like freezing cold. Didn't want to get out of bed. Didn't want to train. Just wanted to sleep all day long. I knew something wasn't right. Became full blown anemic. Didn't want to bail out of the fight. It was a big payday, big opportunity, and took the shortcut, and I guess me sitting here just, the biggest thing I want anyone else to take from it as well as myself is that there are no fucking shortcuts, and I've learned that through wrestling my whole life. My dad's taught it to me that there are no shortcuts and it will come around and bite you in the ass. And karma's a bitch, man. I got it to the fullest. I lost a fight that I knew I was the better fighter. I lost it in 30 seconds. I went on a 2-year suspension. It couldn't have been worse the way it went down. So I got what I deserved, and I did my time. And anyone wants to talk shit afterwards, they're gonna have to they can say whatever they want till I'm in there in front of them. They remember how good I am. They can say whatever they want about what I did and how I got there. And maybe they thought I did it further in the past, which is complete bullshit. It's like I just forgot how to cheat and just got caught this one time. Like it's ridiculous. So that's the stuff that was tough. Maybe not everyone else has got other tough situations to deal with when you have to sit out, maybe from injury or whatnot. But mine was more of the emotions of the decisions I made and having to deal with it and just manning up and dealing with it, face on too, like not hiding from it.
Yeah. And again, I commend you for your words right now, even, the way you're handling it. A lot of fighters, when you seem very confident when you're coming back, both positive on your, just your acceptance and positive on your return and your performance. We've seen fighters in the past who have not done what you did and made excuses and got popped multiple times and done things multiple times outside even just that, and they have a really bad reputation now when they walk out. And then we've had fighters like legends and icons of the sport like Anderson Silva and other fighters that also made mistakes and got caught, and you don't even think about it because you it's completely went past them already. How do you feel when you come back like you seem like you're very confident you're going to blow past this and prove yourself again and just move on, and people are going to understand that you came forward, you did the right thing, you paid your price, and now you're moving on. Everyone makes mistakes at some point. And do you feel that? Do you feel like you're just going to come right past it and show people that you're, that wasn't who you are and who you're going to be, and you're going to just impress them with your fights?
Yeah, man, I kind of have to think that way. I mean, I've become a very mentally tough athlete, and just person because of athletics, right? I mean, I've learned to be, and I wasn't always this mentally tough. I'd say through my wrestling career, I wish I would have had I say that now. I wish I had the mental toughness back then because I would have done a lot better. But if I would have done so much better in wrestling, I probably would have never fought,
right,
and I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So everything happens for that reason. But I'm a very mentally tough athlete, and fighting has taught that for me. And not everyone can do that. So, but yeah, I will definitely come back. I will push past this, and not so much for what anyone else thinks, but just the fact that I know that I'm going to go out there and prove that I'm still the best bantamweight of all time, that I'm going to come back and get that belt and do it with a statement. And you can't ever have that doubt. I mean, even if you do, because everyone's got doubts. So let's be honest. Like, you're going into a fight, you're the best in the world, you're still going to have doubts. You're going to be nervous. You could be the Michael Jordan. Right? Michael Jordan had doubts. Everyone's got doubts. Everyone's got these negative thoughts that eventually come into your head. Right. And it's how good you are at overcoming those negative thoughts and just positive reinforcement. It's like so cheesy. Like, you hear these people tell you, like, just believe or positive reinforce yourself, but it's so true. Like, your mind is a very powerful thing, and you can trick yourself into believing whatever you really want. But then it's obviously you having to put the hard work and the skill behind it, right? But it all starts mentally. It really does. And that's what we talk about with Jake Paul and Askren. Askren's competed against the best in the world and been just fine doing it. Askren has not. And Jake Paul has not, so to have that in there, it's really important. I think the mental aspect of one-on-one competition is the most important.
I know you mentioned that you don't have to fight for money, and obviously you're fighting to come back and get the belt. You're a bantamweight. Do you have a hit list of people that just interest you, you want to fight? And a two-part question. Number one, do you have a hit list? I obviously stated the fighters that kind of want to fight you. Do you have certain fighters that you just want to fight before your career is over? And would you ever consider, because Henry just recently came out, he was on my podcast as well, but he didn't say it on my podcast, obviously. He said it with the Smo, I think. He just recently came out and was a little negative towards you about your fight with him. Would you ever consider going and fighting him again just to have that fight again? So your hit list, and then is he on your hit list, I guess, is a good way of wrapping this into one question.
Yeah, I guess I really haven't sat around and thought about a hit list exactly, right? But yeah, he's on it. Yeah, just you saying his name is like, oh God, like, he did a good job. The King of Cringe did a good job of being cringy. Yeah. It's like one of those fights that, like, I was so much better going into that fight. Don't take anything away from him. I think he's an amazing athlete for winning Olympic gold medal. Like, I give him more credit for being an Olympic gold medalist than I do winning a UFC champion. And that's something, because I've wrestled my whole life, that is quite amazing, right? But I'm so much of a better fighter of him, well-rounded wise. And the way that his career worked out and the way he stepped away from it was just like, he just got so lucky, man. So that's a fight that I want back, because I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. So that's for sure on my hit list. First and foremost, hit list for me is just getting my belt back. Yeah. So whatever path I have to take to get there, if it is fighting all the guys in the top 5 first, if it's going straight to the belt, and then making sure I defend it and have a statement. Corey Sandhagen's a guy that I have a lot of respect for, because I train with him, and he's like a good dude. He's like a really good guy. But obviously it doesn't matter, because he's out there wanting to run his mouth. So I will have to go out there and beat him. But he's a guy that I like, but that's a fight I would like. Jose Aldo was a fight that called me out right away when it was getting closer towards the end of me coming out, that instantly sparked my interest, because it's Jose Aldo. Yeah, of course. I don't want to fight him because of a grudge. I want to fight him because it's Jose Aldo. Yep. And I watched him, beat up on my teammates. And at the time when I was coming up and getting my belt and I beat Barao, he was the greatest of all time, and I wanted to fight him. So that would always be a very interesting fight. I mean, man, the weight class is pretty exciting, so I have like endless fights to really kind of take. But first and foremost, it's whatever fight I got to do to get the belt back.
Right.
And then hopefully we can talk Cejudo and coming out of retirement.
Yeah, I think it'd be easy to do. Maybe. He can't sit around forever with his pillows. He's got a pillow full of fighters, but he's not fighting them and he's not making money by having them. So I have this feeling he's going to get bored after a while and definitely have to come back and fight.
What's up, everybody? I am here in Thailand. This is the first time I've ever been here. Been dying to come here for years. Mike Swick, he's one of the big reasons he's been trying to pull me down here. What he built down here, AKA Thailand, is incredible. There's people here from all over the world. You can train mixed martial arts here, jiu-jitsu. They have weightlifting, they have cardio, and obviously they have Muay Thai, boxing, everything. I'm telling you guys, I know everybody wants to go to Thailand because Thailand's so cool, but you can't come to Thailand without coming to AKA Thailand. Come on.
Not trying to bring it up. I know you had the issues with Alpha Male and the team and all that, and I don't want to. And that's old news, and I don't want to bring up that whole thing again. And it's been beat over and over again. But I just watched a recent interview, not recent, but from late December with Chell, and he really broke down something that I never really noticed was that Conor McGregor was such a huge part of that. I never realized how much Conor was a huge part of that. And so I have to ask you, because I didn't know and I haven't seen you really share any opinion. What was your opinion of Conor because of that situation? And even now, do you have any kind of ill will towards him because of that situation? Or was it just bound to happen, do you think? Or was it just pretty much his manifestation?
Man, I think that whole situation was almost a game plan, to be honest. Yeah. I really almost believe him and Urijah sat down and like planned it out. It was like too perfect. So I was a champion, just beat Barao. Urijah was coaching Ultimate Fighter against Conor. I come to help out right now. So I'm the champion. I defended against Barao. I'm doing this back and forth. I'm going to Colorado to train with Dwayne. I'm kind of like what I'm doing. I'm coming, and I was going back to Sacramento to train with Team Alpha Male. But every time we went back to Team Alpha Male, we didn't really have a head coach, and so I was running practice. Like I'm fighting for a world title and I'm running my own practice. Like that, you shouldn't be doing that. So we'll get to that point after, but. So that was the situation. And then so after I beat Barao, like seriously, that next week I go out to the Ultimate Fighter to kind of show my face and show my support for Urijah and be there for him. And it was just like I kind of got blindsided. I'm like morning, just tired, walking into the gym, drinking a coffee, like puffy face, and then like instantly getting attacked by like McGregor and talking about how I'm a snake in the grass, I'm this traitor, blah, blah, blah. And like there was no thought in my mind of like me not being with Team Alpha Male. Like I was there. Like these are my boys. These are guys I became best friends with, like came up through the ranks with. And then that kind of started and kind of just put a little like just attention towards it, right? But then obviously things just kind of escalate from there. So we get back. So I don't hold anything to him because it's not his fault. I mean, I think it was a plan. I really do. So I get back to Team Alpha Male before my next fight. So after I beat Barao, my next fight's going to be Dominic Cruz. And, I'm thinking about my camp and how it went last time, and I had a great performance. But the thing that really was like irritating me was every time we went out to Team Alpha Male, I was like, man, I wish I was in Colorado right now. Like, we didn't have a coach. I couldn't be coaching practice and worried about fighting and coming back and fighting Dominic Cruz. Is like, he's another guy that's being talked about as being one of the greatest bantamweights of all time. Is, he's a pioneer of the sport. And it's like, oh, I'm fighting Dominic Cruz. Like, I need to take this serious. What can I do to make my camp even better than last time? And I was like, I need to be in Colorado. So took Urijah to lunch. I sat him down, and unfortunately I put Chad Mendez in an awkward situation too, because Chad came to lunch with us as well too. But I sat him down. I was like, hey man, look, I need you, because him and Dwayne didn't get along. Faber and Dwayne did not get along because of money. Urijah promised some things that didn't happen, such and such, but whatever. That's that. So they didn't really get along. So it's like Team Urijah or Team Dwayne, and I'm doing this back and forth. It's like I'm the stepson. I'm like the kid in a divorce and having to choose sides on this. So I sit him down at lunch, like, hey man, I'm gonna do my full camp out in Colorado. I can't afford to keep coming back and forth. It just took a lot out of me, and I don't have a coach here running practices, this and that. And so he gave me an ultimatum. He's like, look, man, you're either with him or you're with us. So You choose. And I was like, well, then I'm going to Colorado, and I thought the fact was like, I'm just choosing, like, so I was like, I'm going to Colorado. I'm going to go train out there. So but I'd still come and he told me I couldn't practice at Alpha Male anymore. I was like, fuck, man. All right. But I was still coming to the gym, trying to hang out with the guys. Dude, he fully kicked me out of the gym, made me like pack all my stuff up, get out of there. I just bought a house in Sacramento, moved my life there. And so I had to pack up and leave. So I was like, fuck, man, like packed my house up, sold it, moved to Colorado. And then that's when all this started. That's why me becoming like the heel really, really started, and just had to continue to live with it and play with it up, even though, I mean, everyone's got their own stories, right? Everyone's got their way they see it, but for me, that's the way that I see it. And it's just, it was just crazy that it became that way. And if I really feel like the way for me and Urijah to fight each other. So say I went out and beat Cruz, which I think I didn't get the decision, swung my way. It would have been a really big hyped up fight between me and Urijah. Yeah. And I think that was the game plan. I really think the game plan for Urijah to get another title shot was against me, and for me to get the belt back and get it all hyped up and like what Conor would say, the red painting night for the UFC, right. I really believe it was the game plan. It was worked out, and it was like just creating this drama, which drama continued to last. And then Garbrandt won the belt, and it was like still there. And so I've been having to deal with that bullshit since I was fighting Cruz. From a long time, and then come back and have to deal with it for Cody for 2 years. So real unfortunate situation to lose some really close friends over some bullshit. But you really find out who's really in your corner when shit like that goes down.
Yeah, and I guess you one quick question too. You kind of like just accepted the snake thing. I think you got a tattoo and then you got the shirts. Like what made you do that? Like most people, they're just automatic instincts when you get called something, especially if you don't want, whether you are or not, or whether you don't think you are especially, or you don't want the public to think you are, whatever they're accusing you of, you run from it, you hide from it, you do whatever you can. You just kind of embraced it. And like, what made you decide to do that? Is it just a punch them back, like, and kind of just show them that it's not effective and it's not bothering you?
I guess that, as well as I thought it was funny at the time, that it was even being portrayed that way. And to be honest, like, I am one of those athletes that is going to think about himself. Like, I'm a very selfish athlete. That when it comes to me being the best, I'm going to go out there and find the right train. I mean, I traveled the world and trained with the best. I'm not going to get held back because some guy's going to give me an ultimatum. Something that I feel like Urijah did to Cody. And that Cody's finally going out and about and going to new training camps and learning new things. I try getting it's funny this all when it's come down, like before the Conor McGregor thing on TV, Cody was actually going to start coming out to Colorado and training at Muscle Farm and start training with Dwayne. Like I have like these long text messages going back talking about him coming out and training and coming out there and because he knew the same situation that they didn't have a coach there. And Muscle Farm was willing to pay him and have him come out, this and that. And then that happened, so it got pushed aside. But just me thinking that, like, how ridiculous that him calling me a snake in the grass was for what I wanted to do. And so, yeah, it was just kind of like a fire back. It's almost like the 8 Mile, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to talk the shit about me, I'm going to say it first before you can even say it. Because then you got no ammo, And it's like, snakes are fucking scary. So might as well run with it.
Fun fact for you, talking about the shirt and Dillashaw and all that. Me and Dwayne always got along. And in my first business, one of my first businesses that was a small business, I turned into quite a large business. I had a huge print shop in Northern California. And Dwayne gave us all of his business. Like, he gave us all of his printing. We printed all the Dwayne Ludwig shirts, and we actually printed your shirts, the Dillashaw shirts. And those were some of the very first Dillashaw shirts when they came out with them or whatever. We printed them in my shop in San Jose, Spartan Screen Printing, before I sold my business.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes,
that's my shop. I
didn't know that was your.
I founded that shop and built it from an empty warehouse to being 11,000 shirts a day, one of the largest in Northern California, before I sold it in 2018. So we had your shirts, and we may or may not have like kept a few for ourselves when we printed your Dillashaw shirts. But it was cool. It's funny how we did that, and then now here you are. And but Dwayne was very cool, and I don't know if I reached out to him or what, but he was 100% on board with giving us all of his business. And he wasn't in, obviously, California or San Jose, but he sent us all of his business, and we shipped all the shirts out to him for, I guess, some of his affiliates, for him, for Bang Muay Thai, for everything. So just giving you a fun fact that we actually printed those Dillashaw shirts, the beginning of them, at least.
Do you still have, is that business still
It's up and running? Yeah, I sold it. I sold it in 2018 to come focus in Thailand.
Gotcha. Cool, man. That's awesome. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, those first shirts we created were just weren't even to sell. They were just for us.
And for us who printed them.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's awesome, man.
No, we just kept like a couple, dude. But we put them on the wall. I think we put them on the wall actually. And we were my manager of the shop was such a big fan of the sport, and he was so excited to be printing Dwayne's stuff. And then he was super excited to be printing your stuff when the Dillashaw design came in, and he started doing the Dillashaw shirts. So just thought I'd let you know that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Can I really quick can I get just a couple predictions from you?
Yeah.
So Jan's fighting Stylebender coming up. What is your prediction on that fight? Him, Stylebender stepping up to light heavyweight like that and fighting such a big, massive guy like Jan. Even though obviously Stylebender is a hell of a striker and one of the best I think in the sport for the middleweights and possibly light heavyweights.
Man, I'm very interested in that fight. I'm a huge fan of Stylebender's striking. It was the way he's able to switch stances up and the angles he's able to collect. I think he's going to give a lot of trouble to Yan. But man, it's tough. Jan's just so big, right? He's such a power hitter. But I'm going with Stylebender, man. I really am. I'm just such a fan. Maybe I might be a little biased there. I've trained with him watched him train out in Colorado when I was out there. I think he's just going to be able to keep that distance. I feel like he's just as long. I don't know what his reach is. I'd imagine the reach is probably very similar. I think he's going to be able to keep that distance and stay a lot faster than him. Yeah. You know, I mean, Yan is a power hitter, but all his power hitters are usually pretty slow and flat-footed. And I think that his footwork and angles are going to be able to pick him apart. He's not going to be able to grab a hold of him. And Stylebender is going to win that fight and be a double champ.
Could be. And the next one would be Stipe versus Ngannou. That's a crazy fight.
Yeah, I think Stipe just kind of does what he did last time. I don't think Ngannou is going to really pick up the wrestling as fast as he needs to. It's a tough sport to pick up, as well as he's a very muscle-bound guy, and grappling gets you tired. As well as he's going to be so afraid to get taken down that he's not going to let his hands go as much. I think Stipe gets that fight pretty easy.
Okay, that's understandable for sure. And two questions really fast. Last questions for you, non-fight related, but just to get some insight. What is your favorite cheat food, and what is your favorite TV show right now? I like to get some unorthodox questions sometimes with some of you guys.
Favorite cheat food? I mean, it's got to be almost everyone's. I feel like it's just pizza, right? So I don't eat grains.
It's so good.
I don't eat grains. I don't eat any kind of no wheats, no flours, nothing like that. So if I could just have like a big doughy, I mean, I actually like thin crust though too, but just pizza, man. Because it's even better the next day.
Cold,
it's amazing.
hot,
so
whatever.
I don't get during. Yeah. So I have to say my cheat meal is pizza. I'm sure you probably get that all the time. And then my favorite show right now is Vikings.
Okay. I
started watching it because I sat in a hyperbaric chamber and watched Netflix and trying to find something. And you can watch Netflix while you're sitting in a chamber, usually sitting there for an hour to 90 minutes. And I started watching Vikings and just got so hooked to it, dude. But I've just been like power watching it. If I have time to not do something, I'm watching Vikings, you know? It's just I feel like it resonates with the lifestyle of being a fighter.
Yeah. Well, man, Javier Mendez actually has been trying to get me to watch that show. So now with both of you, I'm going to have to give it a shot.
It's a really good show. And they got, it's 6 seasons, but it's 7 seasons. The 6th season got split up. So you have tons of watching material. If you have any time on your hands, I think it's a great show. I would watch it.
Well, congratulations, because you're one of the only fighters I've ever not had to ask this question to. Usually when fighters get in their mid-30s, I always ask, what is your end game? What are you preparing for in business? What are you going to do after fighting? And what are you looking to do in 5 or 10 years? You don't have to answer. It's obvious. We already know you got everything lined up. So congratulations on that. It sounds like everything's going good with the Juice company. You got the training on your website I saw. It seems like you got a lot of things going on. So congratulations for that. If you ever come to Thailand, to Phuket, you're welcome to come to my gym at AK Thailand. We'd love to have you out. And so if you ever want to bring the family or take a vacation, hit me up, let me know. And because you can't announce your fight, you got to promise me I can do a quick update with you when you do get your fight announced and it gets closer to your fight time. We'll just do a really quick update, what you think of your opponent and the breakdown of the actual fight. Because I'd love to talk to you about it when it gets announced and when we find out who you're going to fight.
Let's definitely do that, and I'm for sure going to eventually take you up on coming out to Thailand. I mean, I've been wanting to go to Thailand now for the last 5 years. I've been trying to convince my wife to get out there. Obviously, times are crazy right now, but that's a place I'll for sure visit, so I'll have to come out and see you, man. I've seen some great things in your gym out there already, too, so I want to come visit.
Well, thank you so much for your time, champ. I really appreciate it. It's been great to finally have you on the show, and thanks for taking as much time as you have to go over all these questions and answer them so greatly. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. You have a good one, huh?
All right, you too, buddy. Take care.